This one got a little long, but if you stay to the end, I swear I will give you a unicorn. So Pierre pointing behind you and shouting, "Look, it's the specter of Justin Trudeau," was recently in Vaughan, where he announced that he was sick of Mark Carney simply agreeing to his demands and taking the wind out of his sails. So Pierre figured turnabout was fair play, and this time he'd be the one cheating off Carney's homework by announcing that unlike Carney, who had already announced that he'd exempt new home buyers from GST on houses that cost up to $1 million, Pierre thought bigger house prices are better for everyone that he cares about, so he's going to exempt GST on all new homes up to 1.3 million. See, it's a win-win. The banks get to collect more mortgage interest for longer, the developers get to raise their price by a third, and the person selling the house isn't encouraged to keep their price under $1 million. It works for everyone, aside from the people buying the house for the first time. And I would let him explain his big, beautiful, stupid plan to you, if not for this little bit of politicized violence that he got into. But before I show you what he said, I want to remind you of a couple things. Pierre loves to claim that housing is primarily a federal thing, which is, of course, nonsense. It's more a provincial and municipal thing, but he likes to pretend that it's all the Liberals' fault. But I'm also going to let you know that in this case, the people who got to make the decisions that Pierre is complaining about are provincial crown attorneys and provincial judges. At least that is what my lawyer friend, who will actually respond to my text, says.
In nearby Ajax, a Muslim woman was recently attacked at the Ajax library. She was totally innocent, and she was attacked by a monster, a nasty perpetrator, who once again had been released. This is a person who had been released after threatening people with a machete, but after she pleaded guilty, she was sentenced not to jail, but probation. This is the increasingly common story after the lost Liberal decade of crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder in our streets. Electing the Liberals to a fourth term in power will only mean that crime and chaos will run rampant here and everywhere across the country.
So yeah, the question for anyone who feels like the conservatives stand for truth, justice, and the American way is, was Pierre lying there? Was he intentionally blaming the federal government for something that was supposed to be handled at the provincial level because he doesn't know how our system of government works? Or because he relies on having people voting for him not know that he's lying? Either that or I'm lying, or maybe my lawyer friend is lying. Now, I don't know if in this context Pierre is stupid or a liar, but I do think that too often he's both. And I don't think that Muslims appreciate when you lie about violence that happens towards them, because believe it or not, Muslims are people. They should get the same respect when violence happens to them as anybody else. A apparently disturbed person decided to attack a woman. Why is that ending up in your political speech? It's not like the conservatives in Canada are known for loving people who are different than them. By the way, while I do agree that the woman who randomly thought that lighter fluid was a reasonable thing to do in this instance is not safe to leave on the street, I think going forward, a judge is also going to agree with that. At the same time, we should be very wary of politicians who are quick to jump to imprisonment as the best solution all the time for a few reasons. Locking people up is not a creative solution. And if they don't have a creative solution in this context, will they ever be able to avoid being taken advantage of by someone who is smarter than them in other contexts? The answer is that in this case, no, he won't. He's not particularly smart. He just works out and is vicious and talks fast. Secondly, prison is expensive. Locking one Ontarian person up per year costs 3 times more than my wages for a year at my day job. Now, I do not know what caused the attacker in this situation to do what she did, but what I do know is that our prisons are not designed to make anyone better than they were when they got there. Our prisons primarily exist because we are uncomfortable with ending lives, but we're also not super confident that we want to put the work in to fix lives that are broken enough that they commit violent crimes. And prison isn't a deterrent if it isn't torture, as long as we leave the working class in the current situation that we expect the working class to live in. So if Pierre wanted to follow through on his stupid plan to force Doug to lock everyone up, while also bringing down taxes and cutting what he sees as government waste, what needs to happen then? Well, one option would be private prison companies from America who might bribe him to be able to build massive structures where Canadians would essentially be enslaved into working for the government for pennies on the loonie. The other option would be to partner with the US and ship off everyone that Pierre and Doug don't like to an El Salvadorian concentration camp where our laws won't apply. After we've sent all of our most violent criminals there, then we can just move on to everyone who isn't working in the oil and gas industry. Criminal justice reform is an important topic and it deserves sober discussion. But electing an intellectual toddler who wants to tackle it is a recipe for disaster. Criminal justice reform is an important topic and it deserves sober discussion. But electing an intellectual toddler who wants to tackle it is a recipe for disaster. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. Here's your unicorn. Look at me, I'm a unicorn named Reginald.